Although it's a bit early to be planting seed potatoes because the ground is a bit cold, it's a good time to chit them. Now, chitting simply means exposing them to light so that the sprouts can get really knobbly and firm, and then they will grow quicker once they're in the ground. Check them over, find a good sprout, put that in a seed tray or an egg box, works perfectly well, and then put the container on a windowsill in full light, but make sure it's frost-free. So when the ground does warm up, you can plant them and you'll get an even earlier harvest. Well, certainly a beautiful garden as a result of growing everything in containers. But I do know some people will be thinking, well, that's an awful lot of watering. But watering needn't be a problem. And I've always remembered that, and actually I realise that I like watering too. Now this is the reason that I've moved the clematis, to make room for this yew ball, which is the last in a sequence that I've added over the last year to the cottage garden. And what it's doing is giving me winter structure. Horticulturally, what I have to think about is that what the clematis really thrives on is plenty of moisture, but what yew thrives on is really good drainage. It hates being waterlogged. So I am going to add some grit to the bottom. You cannot overdo the drainage for yew. I'm going to tip all of this in. This is horticultural grit. So that goes in there like that. Mix it in. That guarantees that the roots won't sit in water. Okay, out you come. Now what I need to do is just line it up. The next thing to do is to check the level. I want to make sure that the top of the roots of the plant is above of the roots of the plant. Again, that's to do with drainage. Yep, that's fine. This is a very good time to move any evergreen. Really, between now and the end of April is the perfect moment because the soil is warming up. It hasn't started to grow, so it's not making demands on the roots. And like everything that you move, it'll grow very slowly in the first year. So don't worry about that. But then once it gets established, it'll take off. Firm it in. Next step is to give it a good drink. I'm really pleased about that because that completes a job that I've been wanting to get on with for ages. And now here are your jobs for the weekend. I think one of the most important jobs you can do at this time of year is to mulch any bare soil. Use an organic material and put it on at least an inch thick and preferably twice that. Because the purpose of mulching is to have a thick enough layer to block light, suppress weed growth, to keep in moisture, to stop evaporation, and to enrich the soil's fertility and structure as it slowly is worked into the ground.
When I first saw this, it was in the Mediterranean. 20 years ago, in my garden, I could not have even thought about putting one in the ground. But a couple of years ago, I bought one and took a gamble. Then it has absolutely flown. Dealt with one really cold winter. Admittedly, I've got those dry conditions. But I think that is going to be part of what we do going forward. It's just take a few more risks, add that diversity to our gardens, especially when it comes to our trees.
I think that bit of advice about using bigger pots, even on a balcony or a small terrace, is really good because there's a temptation to try and cram lots and lots of small things into a small space. But a bigger pot will give you better effect, need less watering, which is really important. And